One evening, tired from training and heading to his dorm to rest, he saw something that broke him. It was Lisa being gleeful and intimate with another man, his best friend from childhood, Ken. The cruelty of reality dawned on him. He wasn't willing to die. A wild, desperate rejection of death awakened him. His ice-cold heart broke free, yearning for life. Erasing all excuses and the desire to escape, only one thing remained: a raw, desperate will to live. With a wild cry, he broke free from the chains that had bound him for so long.
The sun warmed the cobblestones of an average, run-of-the-mill farming village. By a tranquil river, a boy was fishing, his line slack in the water, when a girl's voice called out, asking if he was free. Their eyes met, and it was love at first sight. Flustered, the boy fumbled his words. The girl, Lisa, beamed him smile, communicating that she wanted to stay by his side and chat if it wasn't too much trouble. As she introduced herself, the boy complied, and they sat down to talk. Lisa explained that her father, an adventurer who scouted dangerous new lands, had passed away. Her mother, after traveling for a while, decided to return to this village to raise her. The boy, who had no desire to risk his own life, found himself captivated by her tales. Naturally, as a boy, he found stories of heroes captivating. Their time together was joyful. What began as a childhood friendship deepened as they grew older, becoming something more. Standing at the very spot where they first met, Lisa one day declared her decision to attend Salmon Academy. She wanted to follow in her father's footsteps and become an adventurer. After a moment's pause, the young man expressed that he would go with her. Lisa, concerned, asked if he was serious, pointing out that he was the only child in a family of farmers. It was logical he would be expected to take up the mantle. His father would surely be against this. Brooding for a moment, he professed that fulfilling the dreams of the girl he loved was more important. Lisa was awe-inspired, her eyes glistening as she asked if he would really do that for her. His mind was made up. She shed a few tears of happiness, thanked him, and leapt into his embrace. They shared a romantic kiss. Then a loud school bell rang, shattering the daydream. His name was Noamu Bounty, and he had already been at the academy for 2 years. The school was founded by the continent's higher-ups in a joint effort to train young adults after a demonic invasion threw the country into disarray. Acceptance was regardless of social standing. Everything was based on grades. Effort and talent ruled over all, and graduation guaranteed a comfortable, prosperous life. But fall behind, and you were treated as an outcast. Noamu, once on top of this class, was now at the bottom. This was displayed for all to see by the magical name tags every student possessed. His was black, the lowest rank. He was constantly berated and made fun of for being weak, bullied by his peers who incited him to quit. He endured the humiliation, steeling himself as he took his seat. Suddenly, he was called out by Mars Dickens, a boy held back a year for being a troublemaker. Mars constantly picked fights, and Noamu, the lowest rank, was a prime target. Frustrated by being ignored, Mars, along with a couple of other classmates, hounded him, insulting him for being abandoned by his childhood friend. In a fit of anger, Mars kicked his chair aside, alerting the entire class. Noamu still didn't respond even as Mars launched a punch. The teacher entered and inquired about the commotion. Mars sneered that he was just giving Noamu some advice since he was so pathetic. The teacher commanded Mars to return to his seat. Mars clapped back, calling him a weed of a teacher and telling him to pipe down. The teacher engaged, saying that if he was a weed, imagine what kind of filth Mars was for being taught by him. Mars retorted that being the black-ranked teacher for so long must have made him loony. Before finally taking his seat, Mars shot Noamu a disappointed glance. Taking control, the teacher ordered Mars to his office after class and began the lesson. He explained that magic was the manifestation of one's mental power. Through mental strength training, one could manifest magic to either strengthen oneself or affect reality. Using specific elements created spells for battle. Magic affecting the world through multiple elements was called ritual magic, the topic of tomorrow's lecture. They would experiment with different catalysts, but the teacher excluded Noamu, stating it would be a waste of time since he was barely magically tagged. Noamu meekly replied that he intended to be there anyway. The teacher permitted it on the condition he stayed on the sideline and out of the other students' way, which elicited a snicker from the class. In stark contrast to Noamu, the red-haired princess Lisa was soaring to the top. Once, as her lover,
He had been the center of attention, expected to measure up to her, but with no experience in studying or swordsmanship, he simply didn't have the same drive. The requirements were too much, and he fell behind quickly. Yet, he never gave up. He had friends and a lover who were willing to help him. He wanted to grow stronger to keep his promise to Lisa, to stand by her side and support her. But then, something happened. Suddenly, his abilities were stunted, as if a handicap had been placed on him. He could improve no further. The people around him gradually started bullying him for his weakness. Except for Lisa, she stayed by his side, devoting time to training him, hoping he would improve again. She relished their time together, and so he pushed harder than ever. During their first year at the academy, they grew closer than ever before. Then, out of nowhere, it ended abruptly. She sternly told him they needed to stop. It was useless. She bid him goodbye. Noamu stood there, perplexed by the suddenness. She had never shown an ounce of frustration, always supporting him. But it didn't stop there. A false rumor spread through the school that he had cheated on her. He defended himself, but it fell to deaf ears. Lisa, nicknamed the red-haired princess for her beauty and skill, was beloved. He was an underachiever with no future. Naturally, when the rumor spread, he was treated as garbage. His so-called friends turned their backs and bullying him became normal, with some even using physical violence. He tried talking to Lisa, but she only gave him a cold, scornful stare. Still, he never gave up. He continued to take classes seriously and trained until his body gave out, determined to keep his vow. One evening, tired from training and heading to his dorm to rest, he saw something that broke him. It was Lisa being gleeful and intimate with another man, his best friend from childhood, Ken. At first, they were in the same category, but Ken's growth had eclipsed his by legendary levels. Ken was calm and gentle and had often taken part in his training sessions with Lisa. Supposedly, he had comforted her broken heart when the rumors spread. They started dating shortly after. Seeing her smile so brightly next to Ken, Noamu's heart shattered. It was clear as day, he no longer belonged anywhere in her heart. Another day, the black tag students prepared for mock battles where both chi and magic usage were allowed. Chi enhanced physical movements and power, while magic required divine power. To his dismay, Noamu was paired with Mars. The latter sported a heavy sword and extra layers of armor. Noamu chose to conserve speed, wielding a katana, a unique blade from an island country. It was the only weapon that could give him an edge, since he couldn't rely on magic. Mars taunted him in a condescending manner, saying he was only wasting his time. As the teacher gave the signal, the skirmish began. Mars relied on the heft of his sword, while Noamu could only defend and deflect. Noticing an opening, Noamu deflected a heavy swing and went for a counterattack. But Mars saw it coming and wound up a punch. Noamu anticipated it, ducking in time, but Mars followed with a second swing. Noamu blocked it at the last second and was pushed back. They charged at each other again, a flurry of swings, the battle heating up. They seemed evenly matched until Mars pushed him back and charged up his ki, a magic that enhanced physical abilities in exchange for life force.
Enveloped in power, Mars blitzed in front of Noamu and swung his heavy sword. With no way to withstand it, Noamu dodged. The destructive power was remarkable. Mars instantly followed up with another attack. Noamu steeled himself, parrying the onslaught as best he could, but he was overwhelmed. Mars was relentless. With a final wind-up, Mars launched a swing that went through Noamu's blade, shattering it and flinging him into the air. Although he had put up a good fight, he couldn't feast someone using magic. It was pointless. Noamu slowly lost consciousness. He woke in the school's infirmary, a life covered in emotional and physical pain. He was used to it by now. He thanked the doctor, Norn, for taking care of him again. She told him to think nothing of it. She was there to help all students. Suddenly, Anriar, the 10th class homeroom teacher, barged in. She inquired about his well-being, leaning in a bit too close for comfort. Noamu, flustered, pleaded for her to step back. The doctor assured her he would be fine, some bruises and a mild concussion, but the pain would subside soon. The bell rang, signaling the end of classes. Noamu thanked them both and excused himself. Anriar stopped him, asking if he was still going to the forest. Worried sick, he affirmed her suspicions. She told him it was dangerous, that even the knights had trouble there, and proposed he go with other students before he cut her off mid-sentence, assuring her it was fine, before excusing himself. Irritated by being ignored, she threw a fit akin to a child's tantrum. This all started due to an ability that had manifested in his heart the previous year. Abilities were special skills manifested by any creature, but in Noamu's case,
his ability was suppression, a rare ability that didn't benefit him at all. It bound and severely hindered him. Although he could manifest magic and chi like anyone else, they were extremely limited, afflicting him with a permanent debuff. Noamu always went to the forest alone, returning to the academy only after he was back in shape, and then coming back gravely injured once more. Anriar assumed it was just some mental block she was determined to keep chipping away at. She said she couldn't help him out of whatever was restricting him, but in terms of technique, she could offer tips. She wasn't a swordsman, but she commented that for a brief moment during his fight, Noamu had almost bested his opponent in technique, magic, and chi all at once. She added it was scary to watch. Dr. Norn agreed, mentioning his competence was beyond that of a regular student. He just needed refinement. She noted his well-trained, battle-scarred body, a testament to strenuous training, which saddened her. She often considered quitting her job because of students like him. She thought he had plateaued and needn't push himself so far, but she wondered if there was something out there only he could achieve on his own. The forest he frequents is deep and dangerous, a place where common people hunt and gather resources. A blessing for some, it also houses powerful beasts, resulting in casualties and missing cases for those who are not careful enough. And into that deepening shadow, Noamu walked alone, his broken katana at his side and a suppressed power simmering within, ready to face whatever lurked in the dark, waiting for a chance to break free.
Deep within the forest, a boy named Nozolmu was locked in a brutal training session with his secret master, Shino. A single punch from her sent him crashing to the ground. As he struggled to rise, her sword descended in a silver arc. He barely evaded it with a chi instant dash, a burst of magic that propelled him forward in the blink of an eye. Shino reacted instantly, her blade already poised for a swift counterslash. "Too slow," she stated, and released a chi phantom blade, a compressed, dense wave of energy, simple in form but deadly in effect. It cut through the air, invisible to the untrained eye, and versatile in its speed and range. Their energies clashed. "Are you trying to kill me?" No gasped, seizing a moment to speak. She replied coolly, "If I wanted you dead, you would be. You left yourself wide open." In a fluid motion, she destabilized his stance and knocked him off balance again. This time, instead of dodging, No attempted a desperate counterattack. Shino anticipated it, vanishing from his sight only to reappear with her foot pinning his sword to the earth, completely restraining him. Just like that, the match was over. No conceded. His master, Shino, was a wanderer who had honed her skills in these woods long before the nearby town existed. Frustrated, No demanded a rematch. Shino scolded him instead. "Reflect on your mistakes. Use them. Find the gaps in your opponent's defense, and you can end a fight in seconds. Only you are fast enough to react like that," he argued. "Everyone is capable of this. Your attempts are half-hearted. It's only natural to anticipate them." As dusk began to settle, she called an end to their session, ordering him to get them food. No sheathed his sword dejectedly and dashed off. Shino watched him go, feeling the slight but definite improvements he had made since she found him. Her first encounter with him flashed in her memory, a boy training alone in the dangerous forest. His form pale and lifeless. The skin on his hands was peeling, his joints inflamed, causing him to stumble with every swing. He was malnourished and exhausted, pushing himself toward an early grave. She had stepped from the shadows and told him his training was pointless in his condition. He explained that after losing his lover and everyone's trust, and with his own abilities sealed, this desperate struggle was his only remaining hope. "Brutal," she had commented, seeing a desperation that reminded her of a starving beggar she once met. She couldn't bear that same hollow look in someone so young. Then demon dogs swarmed him, biting his arm. He was completely helpless. Shino intervened, telling him, "If you want to die, do it after you've mastered the sword." That was a year and a half ago. Since then, he had become a monster of discipline. He had grown proficient with the Phantom Blade, a sharp slash of condensed chi. Though considered a basic skill, in the hands of a master like Shino, it could slice through iron as if it were paper. No's version wasn't as powerful, but its sharpness and density were comparable. With his ability sealed, his technique was far beyond his peers, but The academy focused on harnessing innate power, so he always lost. To compensate, Shino drilled him to focus on technique over chi control. But first, he needed physical strength. Otherwise, anyone would overpower him. She knew his core was broken. He was trying to escape himself through reckless training. She didn't blame him for running. She had done the same once, but she warned him it would only cause more pain. She was imparting everything she had learned so that when she eventually left, he might break free from his chains. As No ran through the forest, an ominous sound caught his attention. His suspicions were correct. Demonic bears. It would take multiple skilled adventurers to bring one down. A regular soldier stood no chance. For No, it would take 5 of him. Yet, his opponent was a lone girl. With precision, she targeted the bear's eyes, blinding it, then swiftly pierced its heart. No recognized her. Iris, a top student in his year, nicknamed the Midnight Princess for her hair as dark as the midnight sky. Another bear charged, but a second girl, Tama, a mage already renowned for surpassing her teachers, unleashed a blast of wind magic that obliterated the creature. She was known as the Minstrel of the Four Winds. These two were at the Academy's pinnacle. As No marveled at their strength, a third bear emerged from the bushes. No leapt in to intervene, but Iris was faster. "Immediate cast," she uttered, using her unique ability to cast without chanting. But No had his own trick. He launched a phantom blade that cut the bear and the tree behind it clean in half. The girl stared, taken aback by his entrance. No, however, was unimpressed with himself. Their raw power was leagues beyond his. While he brooded over his shortcomings, Iris approached. "Thank you for your help," she said, her voice calm. "Are you hurt?" Her beauty left him speechless. She thanked him again for keeping them safe, flustering him further. Iris formally introduced herself. Tama, however, shyly hid behind her friend. Iris apologized for her timidity, explaining Tama was especially meek around men. No said he didn't mind. "May I ask who you are?" Iris inquired. "You seem to be from the Academy." Anxiety spiked in No. He was the Academy's infamous outcast. They might be kind now, but that could change in an instant. He considered lying, but it felt impolite, especially to someone from a family that served directly under royalty. He swallowed his pride. "No Bountis, a 10th rank student," he said, bracing for condemnation. Instead, Iris simply continued the conversation. "Is your party nearby? It's unusual for a 10th ranker to be alone out here." He stood dumbfounded. A glance at Tama told him she had recognized his name, but Iris seemed genuinely unaware. He answered, "I don't have a party. I'm alone." The girls were surprised. "No one wants to work with someone like me," he added. Iris was perplexed. "Students who can survive out here are rare. Why are you alone in the deepest part of the forest?" He clamped up before muttering, "I came to train." His voice grew firmer. "No matter how minor my progress, I'll still press on. It doesn't mean I should just give up and die." An awkward silence fell. Iris apologized for offending him, and No did the same for his rudeness. He asked how he should address her. "Iris is fine. We're both students. No formalities are needed," she replied. He accepted, then asked why they were there. She explained they were on a guild request. There had been a sighting of a dragon. Dragons were legendary creatures, and slaying one was said to grant immense power. But such tales were confined to history books. No one took the rumors seriously, but they had to be investigated. No promised to keep an eye out. Iris admitted that even she wouldn't be allowed to fight a dragon if the rumors were true. No respected her down-to-earth attitude. As a favor for saving them, she offered him the bear to use or sell. He politely declined, agreeing only to take some meat. Iris said they were heading back to the city and asked about No. He said he would return tomorrow. She thanked him again, and Tama offered a sheepish thank you from behind her friend. He wished them well and departed. After he left, Iris turned to Tama. "Why were you so unusually cautious?" Tama imparted the rumors. He was the boy who allegedly cheated on Lisa and was a womanizer who only wanted her body. Iris remained neutral. "He didn't seem like that kind of man. I just didn't see it in him." She suggested that if they met again, they could apologize for any impoliteness. Tama agreed. In the meantime, No trotted happily home, only to be met by a grumpy Shino. "Why are you late?" she probed, like an old married wife. She sensed he had been talking to girls. Confused by her anger, he had no time to explain before she planted him onto the ground, her actions hinting at jealousy. The following day, she doubled his training. The scene shifted to a lavish room where Iris lay on her bed, recounting the day's encounter. She commended No's form. Even with her mithril sword, she doubted she could match his technique. He had launched that attack in an instant. She recalled he hadn't been heading towards the city when they parted. Staying in that forest was suicidal, a place only for those with a death wish. Even trained scouts would struggle with the freely roaming demonic beasts. A smile touched her lips as she thought about him. Iris had taken quite an interest in what kind of man Noamu Bountis truly was, and what secrets he guarded so deep within the shadows of the woods.
The next day found Nozomu returning to the academy, a place that made him uneasy when crowded. Seeking solitude, he retreated to a quiet spot under a tree to eat his meager lunch, game he had hunted himself, his funds low and his energy depleted from the morning's grueling training. As he ate, a small figure fumbling near the trees caught his eye. She was a student from Eklo, the academy's auxiliary school for gifted children, and he noted her particularly short stature. He called out, "Are you okay?" When she turned, her face struck him with a strange familiarity. She explained that her cat, Shadow, had snatched her bracelet and climbed high into the tree. The wood was smooth. Even for an experienced climber, it was a challenge. But climbing was Nozomu's specialty, a skill honed in the forest to escape monsters. He scaled the tree only to be met by a ferocious feline that scratched his face and hand mercilessly. In the struggle, his lunch fell to the ground. The cat looked smug. Nozomu, now lunchless, considered making the cat his meal instead. Cartoonish standoff ensued, observed with confusion by the girl below. Suddenly, the branch snapped. They fell. The cat landed safely in the girl's arms while Nozomu hit the ground hard. As he lay winded, the girl rushed over. "Are you okay?" The bracelet at least was safe. She thanked him with a bright smile and introduced herself as Sumiana. He in turn gave his name and asked if he could call her Somia. She gleefully agreed. Her gratitude, a rare gift, felt like a balm on his pained heart. The moment was broken by the academy bell. Somia excused herself, thanked Nozomu once more, and pit-pattered away, leaving him with an empty stomach. He attended his next class from the sidelines. The lesson was on magic circles, a discipline that relied entirely on the caster's innate magic, a skill Nozomu sorely lacked. In stark contrast, Mars demonstrated high proficiency in both chi and magic, a rare balance that placed him among an elite few. The students marveled at his skill, a painful reminder of Nozomu's own suppressed abilities and his precarious attendance, maintained only to keep up appearances. His gaze then drifted to the mock battles, where he saw Iris facing her next opponent, Lisa. The sight was a shock. A year had passed since he'd last seen Lisa, since they had promised each other a future. Pain twisted inside him as he watched. Lisa moved with remarkable speed. Iris responded with phantom bullets, which Lisa deflected with ease. The pressure was relentless. Lisa's swordplay confident and aggressive. Nozomu felt a pang of worry for Iris. Then, in an instant, Iris retaliated, combining physical attacks with magic, a deadly synergy. Her sword, now enchanted, gleamed. She attempted to bind Lisa with chain magic, but Lisa dispelled it effortlessly. This was a clash of the highest rank. The battle intensified until Lisa stepped back, imbuing her sword with fire magic and unleashing an attack rivaling Taima's wind vortex. Iris stood her ground, charged her own blade, and resolutely cut through the fiery onslaught, neutralizing it. The students and Nozomu watched in awe. As the smoke cleared, Lisa asked how long Iris had been preparing that defense. "Since the beginning," Iris replied, explaining that Lisa's pressure had forced her total focus. Lisa took it as a compliment and left. Iris was left to ponder her own situation, now dating her ex-lover's best friend, and the efficiency of her last attack. It usually took her 10 seconds to conjure, while Nozomu could do it in an instant. How? She spotted him then at the edge of the field and waved, a blush coloring her cheeks. He seemed distant, lost in thought, and did not respond. Taima snapped her out of her reverie with a replenishing potion. Nozomu was already leaving the academy. Seeing Lisa had reopened old wounds. Why couldn't he become strong? Why couldn't he move on? He remembered arguing with his father for weeks to attend the academy, a fight that had left him broken, yet nothing had changed. He had even asked Lisa where it all went wrong.
and she had answered only with a look of disgust. Tormented by unanswerable questions, his heart ached. Training had become his only coping mechanism, a harsh discipline to control the pain. A sudden movement brought him back to the present. A charging shadow, Somia's cat, nearly collided with him. Somia, chasing it, lost her footing, but he caught her mid-fall. After scolding the naughty cat, Nozomu tried to excuse himself, but Somia stopped him. "Can I see you tomorrow?" He was confused. She explained, "It's the second time you've helped me. I want to repay your kindness and talk some more." It was the first genuine kind offer he had received in so long, but he hesitated, fearing she would suffer by association. He mentioned his training schedule. Then she looked at him with puppy dog eyes, an expression he found impossible to refuse. He agreed on the condition they meet during lunch. Delighted, she bounded away with youthful energy before he could say another word. That night, Somia practiced her magic with not much success. She wondered why she couldn't be as good as her sister. Iris entered the room, noticing her struggle. Light and dark spells were the trickiest, and Somia was attempting Torch, a light spell. Iris, though a specialist in darkness, guided her sister patiently on how to release and maintain the magic. Iris noted her usually cheerful demeanor. Did something good happen? Somia confessed she'd made a new friend. She described him as someone who often looked sad, but whose kindness was genuine. She told the story of the bracelet and the tree, and how he seemed worried about other people seeing them together. "But I can tell he's kind-hearted," she insisted. When Somia asked the same in return, Iris admitted she too had met an interesting person. She recalled the broken expression on Nozomu's face during her fight with Lisa. His technique, she mused, could put any swordsman she knew to shame. Somia was fascinated, but Iris, ever the responsible older sister, reminded her it was time for bed. Somia pouted, complaining about being treated like a child, but eventually complied. As her sister headed upstairs, Iris watched her small figure. Somia had been born prematurely, their mother lost in the process. Since the age of 6, Iris had shouldered the responsibility of raising her sister and leading the Frank family. Through rigorous training and sheer will, she had met every expectation, forsaking the romantic pursuits of her peers to rise to the top of her class. That was why Nozomu intrigued her. The evidence contradicted his reputation. His battle-scarred body spoke of immense effort. He wanted to know what kind of training could produce such power. The following day, Somia aired her grievances to Nozomu about her sister's coddling. Nozomu noted gently that she was only 10. She pouted at him too. She asked about academy life, and he admitted it was different for him as a black tag, the lowest rank. Somia beamed. "You're just like me. Even though my sister is better at everything, I still try." His perspective surprised him. "You must be strong to think that way," he remarked. His attention was then caught by Shadow playing with her bracelet. Somia explained it was a family heirloom, handed down through generations. Her sister had given it to her as a reminder that they would always be connected. "That's precious," Nozomu said. "When is your next birthday?" "It's soon," she exclaimed. Her father was often away, but her sister was throwing a big party. Her excitement was palpable, and Nozomu found her demeanor amusing. He suggested they get lunch, but she said she had plans to eat with her sister. And then, out of the blue, Iris entered the scene. Her eyes widened, taking in the sight of her little sister sitting comfortably with the very boy who occupied her thoughts. The air grew still, the moment hanging on a razor's edge as their worlds collided. Somia leaped gleefully into her sister's arms. The new friend she'd chattered about was none other than No. He stared, slowly processing the scene. Somia mentioned they shared the same last name. The bracelet, the fact her sister was in his year, their similar appearance. The pieces clicked into place too late. He mentally kicked himself for missing such an obvious connection. Iris, observing his dawning realization, invited him to join them. Wary of their social standing, No hesitated. "I'll pass," he said. But Somia insisted, grabbing his hand and pulling him to his feet. Iris noticed his discomfort. "You don't like open public areas, do you?" No affirmed, "There's just so many people." They agreed to find a quieter spot, away from the crowds, and Somia cheerfully agreed so long as No was comfortable. As they ate, No's eyes caught a puppy sticker on Iris's bag. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Just something unexpected about you," he replied. Somia chimed in, "My sister loves dogs. I like cats." Iris shot her a look for the embarrassing reveal, sparking a playful cats versus dogs debate that No silently observed. Unprompted, Somia asked how the two had met. They explained it was a chance encounter when No instantly slashed through a demonic beast. Somia was astonished. The person person her sister held in such high esteem was him. Iris commended him for saving the tea that day. No deflected the praise, stating he was still the lowest-ranking student due to his suppressed abilities. Iris remained baffled. How could someone in the lowest class deliver such a blow? No explained that particular attack was fatal if aimed at a person, which is why he never used it at the academy. Even suppressed, it drained him completely. He could only use it once before exhaustion. Iris questioned why he didn't join a party if his skills were so potent. His reply was simple. No one wanted him. The mood soured. Sensing his pain, Iris cut in. He didn't need to be a combat powerhouse to be useful, she reasoned. His familiarity with the forest was an asset. He demanded clarification. Iris pointed out he'd gone straight into the woods after leaving them, implying he could survive the night there. In truth, it was thanks to Shino, a dragon-class adventurer whose abode was a safe haven. Still, No had spent countless nights camping alone on his master's orders. Iris pressed further. Why not form his own party? Was it because of his breakup with Lisa? Or the animosity from other students? The question struck a nerve. A flood of bad memories washed over him. Seeing his distress, Iris assured him she wasn't one to blindly believe rumors. But the damage was done. Feeling exposed, No excused himself, apologizing to Somia before retreating into the woods. Iris explained to her confused sister how badly No had been treated. She didn't understand why someone like him was ostracized. She just wanted to know the person who'd saved her friend. He carried a deep-seated distrust, a brokenness she recognized. She had wanted to tell him she didn't believe the rumors, but her words were rejected. It was a first for her, and she wasn't prepared. I might have said too much, she admitted. Somia recommended an apology when they had the chance. Iris agreed. As No walked away, part of him wanted to return and hear her out, but he buried the impulse, pushing the pain down. Lisa wasn't the only one who had given up on him. His friends had abandoned him just as quickly. Lost in thought, he stumbled upon an unexpected scene. Lisa herself. Her friends glared daggers at him. A former friend offered a terse greeting. No mustered his courage and tried to reciprocate, but was instantly shut down by Camilla, Lisa's first friend at the academy, and one of the first to abandon him when rumors spread. Lisa asked him what he was doing there. He had tried countless times to prove his innocence, to clear the misunderstanding, but no one listened. He had given up, falling into an abyss of despair. He just wanted to talk to her again. That proved to be his biggest mistake. She stared past him with cold, dead eyes. Don't come any closer, she ordered. I can't even look at you. Just leave. Get out of my sight and don't come back. Her words tore him apart. He stood there, broken. She added that if he didn't leave, she would. He watched her go with lifeless eyes until Camilla shoved him aside with an insult. He had no strength to retaliate. His former friend glanced back once before leaving. No ran maniacally through the forest. He had worked so hard to suppress his self-destructive urges, but the encounters with Iris and then Lisa broke the dam. Every locked-away emotion flooded back. He found himself deep in the forest. His compass malfunctioned. The area was thick with demonic beasts, barely safe. He decided to build a shelter, wait for the fog to clear, and gather his wits. But something felt unusual. He went to investigate and was suddenly blinded by a brilliant light. He found himself in an open field, far from the city. Then, out of nowhere, a colossal dragon appeared, a creature of legend. Without warning, it attacked. The destructive power was immense. No barely dodged, throwing smoke bombs to distract it, a tactic he often used to escape monsters. As he fled, the dragon unleashed a mighty roar that sent him flying. The force of its scream alone was a weapon. Then a swirl of fire hurled straight at him. Sound disappeared for a moment. The resulting crater was large enough to fit the entire academy. No endured a rough landing and drank a replenishing potion. Just evading its attacks was draining him. It used spiritual magic, instant and unprocessed. The situation was hopeless. All his items were destroyed. As if things couldn't get worse, the dragon effortlessly flicked No into a wall. His life flashed before his eyes, the good and the bad. Lisa, his master, Shino, Henri, Norn, Somia, and Iris. In what seemed like his final moments, he thought that when it mattered the most, he always failed. Just as he was about to be crushed, Shino appeared at the last second, scolding him for his carelessness. She had always fended off magical beasts, but against a dragon king, even she felt fear. This was Tiamat, sealed away 5,000 years ago for devouring its own kind. No's luck had truly run out. Seeing he was in no condition to fight, Shino planned to act as a decoy. As she prepared to launch him to safety, he questioned what would happen to her. "It's either you or me," she stated, hurling him back and ordering him to run. His refusal was ignored as she charged, firing a phantom blade. It was ineffective. The dragon retaliated,
unleashing a barrage of magical beams from its wings. Shino sliced through multiple rays, her chi attacks destroying some, but the waves were endless. She used her sword's sheath to release more chi, but her reserves were no match for the dragons. It was only a matter of time. Even at her peak, she knew she couldn't survive. Exhaustion claimed her senses one by one. She concluded she was dying, but at least she had saved her disciple. Her heart felt strangely empty. She had softened after spending time with the boy. Her thoughts were interrupted by No's voice. He hadn't moved. Shino screamed at him to leave. The dragon fired another barrage. Shino countered with her ultimate ability, Light Destroyer Chi. She sent it through the ground, creating a wall of energy that destroyed everything it touched, blocking the incoming rays. It was her strongest, widest range technique, but not meant to last. The blasts veered around it, heading straight for No. There was no escape. He suffered fatal damage, his body being flung into the ground. It began to shut down. The presence of death filled the air. This was his most painful experience. Blood loss diminished his brain functions. He couldn't even conjure memories. The cruelty of reality dawned on him. He wasn't willing to die. A wild, desperate rejection of death awakened him. His ice-cold heart broke free, yearning for life. Erasing all excuses and the desire to escape, only one thing remained: a raw, desperate will to live. With a wild cry, he broke free from the chains that had bound him for so long.
The world erupted in a flash of scales and fury. As the Dragon King gathered hellfire in its maw, Nozomu flung himself forward, his body moving on pure instinct. In his awakened state, time seemed slow, and he narrowly twisted past the inferno. With a focused cry, he launched a phantom blade, a sliver of compressed chi sharper than a strand of hair aimed directly at the beast's eye. It struck true, but the dragon's primal defenses hardened the sensitive organ, preventing a deep wound. Yet it was enough. For the first time, the king was wounded. Enraged, the dragon slammed into the earth, shattering the ground itself. But No gave it no quarter. He pursued relentlessly, a shadow of vengeance. Seeing No's advance, the desperate dragon prepared to unleash its destructive light rays. In that critical moment, Shino acted. Her light destroyer flared, intercepting the shower of energy and carving a safe path through the chaos. No shot through the opening faster than Shino had ever seen anyone move. A moment of raw speed that called to mind Midoriya Izuku pushing beyond his limits. Furious, the dragon began to gather energy for a cataclysmic attack, a blast meant to obliterate them and the very world it was trapped in. But this world had its own rules. A colossal seal materialized above the beast, the realm's innate mechanism activating to suppress its berserk rage. Seizing the opening, No charged the dragon's throat. He fired a phantom blade at point-blank range, shattering its mighty scales into rubble. Without pause, he swung his sword, slashing deep into the exposed flesh. He pushed further, driving the blade deeper until the dragon's agonized scream ripped through the air. It thrashed, trying to dislodge him, but No held fast. Gathering his chi into his free hand, he unleashed an impromptu light destroyer, channeling the raw power directly into his sword. The energy erupted, blasting the dragon's head from its body, severing the connected nerves. Victorious, No tumbled to the ground as the colossal beast fell. But the victory was short-lived. As the Dragon King's remains disintegrated, they emitted a surge of energy that shot straight toward No. He couldn't dodge. The energy enveloped him, and his world dissolved. He awoke in chains, in a realm of shadows. Looking down, a massive dragon eye stared straight back at him. The Dragon King Tiamat was chained beneath him, a prisoner just as he was. Then, reality rushed back. His eyes fluttered open to see Shino's concerned face hovering over him. They stared at each other for a long moment before he blurted out, "Monster!" and was promptly and deservedly punched in the face. His master informed him he had been unconscious for 3 days,
though for No, it felt like mere minutes. The realization that Shino had been caring for him all that time washed over him, a wave of shame and gratitude. He apologized for his remark and thanked her for treating his wounds. She pouted, chiding him for worrying her, but her relief was palpable. Flustered by her kindness, he stammered a question about her own well-being. She assured him she was fine, save for some chi exhaustion. Her expression then turned serious. She had to tell him about his current state. No braced himself. First, she confirmed he had indeed defeated the Dragon King in the sealed world, which explained the sudden shift in scenery during our battle. While the legend of dragons was hard to believe, the tale of the sealed world was even more incredible. But by slaying Tiamat, No had absorbed its power. He was now a dragon slayer, a being of immense strength not seen for hundreds of years, whose power defied magical explanation. They were figures from fairy tales, capable of awakening superhuman abilities. No was stunned. To test the revelation, Shino threw him his katana and immediately drew her own blade against him. He barely anticipated the attack, his block clumsy, but miraculously in time. Even he was surprised. As Shino expected, his physical abilities had increased. The gap that his suppressed chi had forced them to bridge with refined technique was now narrower. Yet she cautioned he wasn't overwhelmingly stronger. Such was the immense effect of his suppression. Recalling the moment the chains broke during the fight, they flickered around him again, visible only to his eyes. Shino confessed she had never heard of anyone releasing their suppression ability, even temporarily. Then she asked the question that truly troubled him. What did he plan to do now? He had reached the pinnacle. He had no reason to become stronger. Mastering the Phantom Blade alone would earn him respect. He had no reason to stay at the academy. Wanting to support the girl he loved, Lisa, was just an excuse. She didn't love him anymore. Shino's words were a merciless mirror, reflecting a truth he had long avoided. He had used training as an escape from a reality where he was rejected, clinging to a past that no longer existed. He was still trapped by it. "It's not my place to decide for you," she told him, "but you will be forced to make a choice soon." As he contemplated her harsh but necessary words, her voice softened. She called his name, and before he could react, she pulled him into a tight embrace. "Welcome back," she whispered, praising him for fighting so well. The gesture brought him to the brink of tears. It dawned on him then, the dark circles under her eyes, her rough breathing. She had been tirelessly, anxiously watching over him. "I'm back," he whispered back, his voice thick with emotion. He soon drifted off to sleep in her arms, utterly spent. Shino watched him, never guessing this boy would become the first dragon slayer in centuries. She lulled him to sleep, sure his mind and body needed the rest. Her own thoughts drifted to her past. Born in a far eastern island nation, she was the second daughter of the famed Mikagura sword-style family. Prodigy, she devoted herself to the sword despite ridicule, supported by her father and mother, and adored by her older sister. Victory and praise were her constants, culminating in a reward from the country's highest noble. Her happiness peaked when her sister introduced her to a young man who became her disciple. Their love blossomed, leading to a blessed engagement, but it was short-lived. A groundless accusation of adultery, with complete fabricated evidence, threw her life into chaos. The marriage was called off. Though she claimed innocence, no one believed her. Less than a year later, she discovered the perpetrator was her own sister, who screamed at her out of jealous rage, vowing to never let her Shino have the happiness she felt was rightfully hers. "I'll have a wonderful life with him in your stead," she spat, the final nail in the coffin. Abandoned and betrayed, Shino left everything behind. Her home, her country, and ended up in this forest, alone. She and Noamu were astonishingly similar, both abandoned by the world. At first, she hated how much she reminded her of herself, but now, a sharp, familiar pain coursed through her body. Her exhausted chi wasn't recovering, instead it withered, fading away. She was afflicted with the death-sleep disease, a slow, incurable erosion of one's life force, often triggered by severely exceeding one's chi limits. The irony was not lost on her. "Nothing really goes one's way in this world," she whispered cynically. There was so much more she wanted to talk to him about, beyond swords and fighting. It was just like her to go about it this way, but she had one last thing to tell him.
and she would use every ounce of her power to see it through. The weight of her final duty settled upon her, a silent promise in the quiet room.
1 week later, the city gates stood tall under the morning sun as Nozomo walked through them, his wounds now completely healed. At his side was Shino, the woman who had once been so strict, so sharp with her words, yet lately, something had changed. Her voice carried hesitation now, her tone softer, her eyes uncertain. The cold, disciplinary teacher who once treated him like a burden now seemed almost human. Nozomo noticed it too. Gone were the biting insults or swift strikes whenever he stepped out of line. Instead, she stumbled over her words, showing glimpses of warmth she probably didn't even realize. It reminded him that even people like Shino, tough on the outside, sometimes carry their own quiet storms. Since this was her first time visiting the city, Nozomo offered to guide her. The sight of her looking around with wide, almost childlike wonder caught him off guard. For a moment, she wasn't the strict mentor. She was just a woman rediscovering the world. It made him remember his own first visit, when everything here felt bright, new, and full of possibility. But time has a way of dulling those feelings. Eventually, they reached the academy gates. The familiar sound of the bell rang out, signaling class had already started. Nozomo sighed, knowing he was late again. He thanked her for coming along, but Shino just waved it off with a teasing smirk. At this point, she said, "Being late is the least of your worries." Then her tone shifted, softer. "But I still have something to tell you after class." That caught him off guard. Shino, wanting to talk privately? It was unusual, almost unsettling. He hesitated. "Now? What's this about?" She crossed her arms, acting composed but clearly holding something back. "Just come find me. You're late enough as it is." Nozomo grumbled that she was the one who made him late in the first place, earning a rare smile from her. "It's a shame my guide has to leave," she said, her voice almost playful. "I think I'll take a walk a little longer." It was the kind of small human moment that said more than words ever could. Back at the academy, Nozomo braced for questions, but to his surprise, no one made a scene about his week-long disappearance. Maybe they didn't care. Maybe that silence said it all. But when morning classes ended, Anri approached him, her steps sharp, her eyes narrowing with quiet frustration. "Where were you? I want details." Nozomo tried to brush it off, claiming he'd been attacked by a forest monster. It wasn't exactly a lie, but not the full truth either. "That's a big deal," she said firmly. "Why didn't you contact the school?" Nozomo's voice turned bitter. He muttered something about being sick, that he'd had a fever. Then, almost as a defense mechanism, he added that none of his classmates would have cared anyway. That hit harder than he expected. Maybe because it was true. Anri's expression softened. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she whispered, "You don't trust me." For a moment, he froze. She wasn't angry, she was hurt. And when she leaned closer, noting the faint scent of medicine on him, medicine not sold anywhere in town, he realized how sharp her intuition was. Nozomo thought to himself, half in awe and half in fear, she's dangerous. Not because of magic or strength, but because she could read people too easily. The kind of woman who could disarm a man's defenses without even trying. Elsewhere, Iris sat at lunch with her sister Somia and their friend Tima. The mood was lighter, but under that calm chatter was something fragile. Somia asked softly, "Were you able to make up with No?" Tima blinked. "Make up? What happened?" Iris sighed, explaining there'd been a misunderstanding a few days ago. It wasn't like her to open up, but it was clear the thought of Nozomo still weighed on her mind. Tima, always observant, realized that Iris had been waiting at the school gate lately, hoping to see him, but he never came. Then Somia, innocent as always, smiled shyly and said, "Can we invite No to my birthday party?" Iris frowned. "It's supposed to be a private event." But Somia didn't back down. "He helped me get my bracelet back. I want to thank him." Her voice was quiet, but every word carried warmth. Then she added something that stopped Iris cold. "He looked lonely when he smiled. I want my friends to be happy, even just a little." That line, it hit different. The kind of line that feels simple but carries all the emotional weight in the world. Iris finally relented. Somia didn't know Nozomo's past, but she felt his loneliness, and Iris, who once just found him interesting, had grown to understand him, little by little. She'd seen his quiet effort, the way he endured things alone. That curiosity had turned into empathy. Now she was determined to fix things between them. And then, maybe,
invite him properly. When afternoon classes resumed, Anri's irritation still lingered. Her glare followed Nozomo across the room like a curse. As the teacher's assistant, she oversaw practical training sessions, and today's class ended with mock battles. The matchups were announced, and fate, in its cruel sense of humor, paired Nozomo with Mars. Mars smirked, cracking his knuckles. Bad luck pairing with me again. Nozomo's lips tightened, but he said nothing. Although not at full strength, his body moved differently now. Steady, controlled. The Dragon Slayer power within him simmered quietly, like a storm held back behind glass. His master's words echoed in his head. Never unleash your true power inside the academy, because that power wasn't meant for humans. Still, now that he'd trained under Shino, he could feel it. Control, balance, precision. That temptation to test himself was stronger than ever. The fight began. Mars moved first, aggressive as always, his strikes enhanced by wind magic. But Nozomo didn't flinch. He parried effortlessly. Every movement efficient, deliberate. In one swift motion, he countered, an elbow to the stomach, then a knee straight to the face. The sound of impact echoed through the training hall. Students gasped. Mars stumbled, his ego bleeding more than his body. Anger surged through him. He roared and unleashed a dustwind blade, a whirling storm of slicing air meant to shred everything in its path. But Nozomo's eyes were calm. He weaved through the attacks like water flowing through cracks, reading Mars's movements 2-3 steps ahead. Mars's frustration grew. This wasn't the same clumsy, withdrawn boy he used to humiliate. Nozomo's stance, his timing, it was precise, disciplined. It was like watching someone shed their old skin. He realized then, Nozomo's suppression ability, the one that had always held him back, was gone, broken, overcome. It was almost unthinkable. Most would live their whole life trapped by that kind of limit, but Nozomo, he transcended it. Now, using the techniques Shino had drilled into him, he moved with frightening clarity. He was finally fighting on his own terms. Mars growled, trying one last desperate move. He conjured a vortex of wind, blasting the dust aside to locate his opponent, but Nozomo was already vanished from his sight. In the next instant, he felt it, cold steel grazing his chest. Nozomo appeared behind him, his blade shimmering faintly with restrained energy. Phantom blade, he whispered. Mars froze, then impact. The strike hit clean. Before he could even react, the class bell rang out. Signaling class had already ended. Silence filled the hall. Mars, battered and defeated, watched Nozomo calmly sheath his weapon and turn away. Anri tried to call out, but he dismissed her and headed straight for the forest, his expression unreadable. In that moment, Mars finally understood something painful. For years, he'd mocked Nozomo for being weak, for never fighting back. But now he saw it clearly. Nozomo had been growing all along. Quietly, patiently, in ways Mars never noticed. And overcoming a suppression ability, that was beyond rare. It was almost impossible. Mars realized he'd spent years chasing the wrong enemy. Nozomo wasn't someone to look down on anymore. He was someone who had already surpassed him. Meanwhile, Iris rushed to the front gate after class, her heart pounding. She hoped to finally talk to him, to bridge that gap between them. She could sense it. Something had shifted. Maybe this was her chance. But when she reached the gate, all she saw was his back, fading into the distance, moving with urgency. That sight froze her in place. Why was he in such a hurry? What was he hiding? That question lingered in the air like a haunting melody, the kind that doesn't fade easily, just like Nozomo himself. Nozomu could feel it. That strange, unshakable instinct clawing at the back of his mind. Something about Shino's sudden invitation didn't sit right. The woman who always avoided the city now called for him with the tone that carried both warmth and finality. It wasn't like her. It wasn't normal. And deep down he knew. Something had changed since their battle with the Dragon King. When he arrived, Shino greeted him with an unsettling cheer. It almost felt forced. The smile of someone trying to hide a storm behind their eyes. She teased him lightly, inviting him for a drink, saying, "A man isn't a man if he refuses a woman's offer." Typical Shino. Always pushing boundaries, always hiding emotion under jokes. He accepted, noticing her fondness for alcohol, a weakness he had seen before. And as always, she grabbed him with that trademark iron grip, the kind that nearly shattered his bones. He gave a sarcastic remark, correcting her from beautiful woman to formerly beautiful. earning himself a well-deserved strike. For a moment, the tension cracked into laughter. It was nostalgic, the kind of moment that almost made him forget how cruel their world had become. They talked, slowly, softly. Her words wandered, drifting through old memories of her family, her regrets, her long solitude. She asked questions she already knew the answers to. Mundane things, yet there was a tenderness in how she said them. She reflected quietly, realizing how their connection had always been through the sword, never through words. All she had ever taught him was battle, pain, endurance, survival. She had never taught him peace. And now, sitting beside him, she realized something that hurt more than any wound. She had avoided moments like this for years, thinking she didn't deserve them. Yet here he was, still cherishing her, still respecting her despite everything. If only she had been born in another time, in another world, maybe she could have stayed by his side. But life rarely grants second chances, and that wish, she knew, would remain just a wish. That's when her expression changed. The warmth faded, her tone hardened. She stood up, declaring something that froze Nozomu's blood, his final lesson. Before he could respond, she vanished. A breath later, she reappeared in front of him, her blade flashing toward his neck. He barely managed to dodge, but a chi-charged kick slammed into his stomach, sending him crashing into a tree. The impact was brutal. He looked up, confused, demanding to know what she was thinking, but she didn't answer. She never did during training, but this wasn't training anymore. This time, she wasn't holding back. Her intent was clear. For the first time, his master truly meant to kill him. The pressure she unleashed was suffocating. It felt like standing before a force of nature. Every swing from her sheath carried enough chi to crush bone. He could barely keep up, forced to block, evade, and counter with everything he had. The forest lit up with flashes of energy as their weapons clashed, the sound of two souls colliding in one final dance. She fought with the seamless grace of a warrior who had mastered both sword and spirit. Even her sheath was deadly, infused with chi that could shatter armor. Nozomu mirrored her stance, trying to lessen the impact, but the gap in skill was like a canyon. Every strike reminded him that no matter how far he'd come, she was still miles ahead. A crushing blow from her sheath cracked against his ribs. He barely managed to channel his chi to numb the pain, but his vision swam. Another kick, this one to his core, sent him flying again. His shallow techniques were worthless against her. This wasn't training. This was the culmination of everything they'd ever shared. Then came his chance. He unleashed his Phantom Blade, his most trusted attack, a move that had saved him countless times. But Shino read it instantly, countering it with her own Phantom Blade. The collision canceled his strike completely, leaving him wide open. Her sword followed through, cutting him across the side, drawing blood. He hit the ground hard, breath shallow, pain flooding his senses. For a second, he thought this might be the end, but then she told him to release his suppression ability. The words hit him like thunder. She was telling him to use everything, even if it meant losing control. He hesitated. That ability was his chain, the one thing keeping the dragon within him bound. To remove it would mean releasing the very power of Tiamat, that being he had fought so hard to contain. He remembered that dream, Tiamat bound in chains, glaring at him with ancient hatred. That power wasn't meant for mortals. If he freed it, he might never return. But Shino didn't let him hesitate. She pressed forward, attacking again and again, her strikes cutting through the air like lightning. Each clash brought him closer to his limit. His body began to fail him. His vision dimmed. His limbs went numb. It was like sinking into the depths of a freezing sea. And as he fell to his knees, part of him accepted it. If this was how he died, by his master's hand, maybe that was enough. But then he saw her face. She looked like she was about to cry. And in that moment, everything changed. She stopped mid-fight and confessed the truth. She was dying, not in battle, but from an illness she had hidden all this time. Nozomu's heart stopped. He couldn't believe it. He scolded her, told her she should have said something, that maybe they could have found a way. But she only smiled sadly. She told him they were the same, both betrayed, both broken, both having once lost the will to live. She had secluded herself out of shame, out of despair. But then she met him, a reckless, stubborn boy who refused to die. And that boy reminded her of everything she had lost. At first, she found him annoying. He was like a mirror reflecting her younger self,
loud, foolish, hopeful. But over time, she saw something she no longer had, the courage to keep living, even after everything had fallen apart. Her tears finally fell as she asked him to grant her final wish. Nozomu didn't answer. He couldn't. There were no words strong enough for that kind of pain, but he understood what she wanted. A final battle. One last lesson that would define them both. And so, with his mind made up, Nozomu broke the chains within him. In the distance, the Dragon King stirred, that same monstrous will that had haunted him. The world trembled, and then once again, they clashed. The power that erupted from Nozomu was monstrous, his aura burning bright enough to make the earth quake. But Tiamat, that ancient, terrible dragon, appeared before him, throwing him aside like a rag doll. Even with his newfound strength, he was nothing before that divine fury. Still, he refused to back down. He remembered Shino's face, that look of pain, of pride, of goodbye, and used it as his fuel. He charged straight through a fireball, sacrificing half his body. His right side burned and torn, but he kept going, forcing his broken body into the beast's chest. Inside, he saw it, the dragon's core, pulsating with pure hatred. He reached for it, and the moment his hand made contact, the world exploded in light. Power flooded through him, pure, overwhelming energy that nearly tore him apart, yet he endured it. He didn't let the dragon consume him, he mastered it. Outside, Shino watched. For the first time, she smiled with genuine relief. He had done it. He wasn't crushed by the power, he controlled it. Now, with strength beyond human limits, Nozomu faced her again. Their rematch was inevitable. Though her skills still towered above his sheer power was unmatched. The battlefield lit up as they fought. Two forces clashing, master and student, bound by fate. And even in the chaos, their banter returned, sharp, familiar, almost comforting. She teased him for not being gentle, saying he still didn't understand women. He fired back, mocking her for hiding in the forest all these years. Their words cut just as deep as their blades. It was tragic and beautiful, a conversation only warriors could have in the middle of a life or death battle. Shino unleashed her phantom blade once more, roaring for him to die as the enemy of women. He met it head on, canceling it perfectly with his own.
For a split second, she was stunned. He had evolved even mid-battle. Their final exchange was devastating. They poured every ounce of strength, skill, and emotion into one final strike. The ground split, the air cracked, two souls, one bond, reaching their end. And then silence. Their swords shattered. Shino fell. Nozomu rushed to her side, sealing his power, panic in his eyes. She looked up at him with a faint, peaceful smile. She told him he had grown stronger, that there was nothing more she could teach him about the sword. He held her close, tears mixing with the dirt and blood on his face. She told him she was happy. Happy that he accepted her final wish, happy that he understood what she truly felt. She regretted never teaching him how to train his heart. Their bond had always been through combat, not through words. But now, with her last breath, she tried to make up for it. She told him it was okay to run away, that everyone runs sometimes, but the important thing is to never look away from the choice you made, to never deny your own reality, because if you do, you'll end up trapped, just like she was. But if you can face it, you can always move forward. Her words lingered in the air as her strength faded. Nozomu, through tears, gave his word, and in that promise, Shino found peace. She rested in his arms, proud of the man he had become. The cold wind carried her final warmth away, leaving only silence between the trees. When it was over, he buried her with his own hands. There was no ceremony, no grand farewell, just a boy and the woman who had shaped him into what he was. And when he finally stood up, his expression was calm, resolute. The weight of her teachings, her sacrifice, her legacy, all of it now rested on his shoulders. He didn't need to say a word. His eyes said everything. This was not the end. It was the beginning of what she had died to create. A man strong enough to carry her will forward. And as he walked away, the sun broke through the clouds, shining on the path ahead, the path of a warrior reborn from loss, tempered by pain, and destined for greatness. Because from that moment on, Nozomu wasn't just a disciple. He was the living proof of his master's final lesson.
In the shadowed halls of an unknown castle, silence reigns, broken only by the low murmur of two voices. A distinguished butler stands before his superior, posture perfect, face unreadable. His tone carries a sharp edge of duty as he reports on a contract, one tied to the predecessor of the man before him. The time to fulfill it is drawing near. The superior doesn't hesitate. Do whatever must be done, they say coldly. Finish it quickly. Take all measures if needed. The butler bows deeply. As you command. When he rises, the air around him twists. His figure flickers, warps, until his form dissolves into a swarm of bats. The creatures surge outward into the night, leaving the castle behind, and with them, an ominous promise of something powerful and unknown. The scene shifts. Morning sunlight pours through the academy windows, glinting off desks and the weary face of Nosamu. A small sigh escapes his lips. He's finally passed the written tests. Relief mixes with exhaustion, but also unease. For now, he decides it's best not to rely on the Dragon Slayer's power. It's far too much for him to handle. Just one punch with that power could crush a boulder. And worse, there's always the chance that the dragon itself might devour him in return. The thought alone makes his chest tighten. What should I do? He murmurs, eyes falling. Thoughts of Liso surface too. Her face, her memory, and for a brief moment, he wonders if running away again would be easier. But this world doesn't let him rest. Even the ranking system, so praised for its efficiency, carries a dark side. Those who were once powerful in their hometowns, the so-called black tags, now find themselves at the very bottom. That humiliation festers, twisting into resentment. And who better to take it out on than someone weaker than them? Nosamu had become their outlet. Once he was the quiet one, the one who always looked down, too afraid to meet anyone's eyes. The weak boy everyone mocked. But now, things were starting to change. He could stand tall. His gaze didn't waver. Something inside him had shifted. Then, "All right, everyone," a lively voice cuts through the tension. Henry, the woman with warm eyes and a confident smile, steps forward. "I'll be your teacher this year." The class buzzes. Henry continues, "I know how it feels to be at the bottom. I was there too once, but that didn't stop me from growing, and I want the same for all of you." Her smile softens as her eyes meet Nosamu's. The most important thing is to try. Her sincerity stirs something in him. He blushes slightly as she moves on with her speech. But not everyone in the room shares her warmth. From the back, Mars glares at him, a piercing look that burns into his back. By afternoon, the field is alive with the clash of mock battles. Nosamu stands alone again. Of course he does. The exercise is meant to build teamwork and judgment, but no one wants him as a partner. He exhales quietly, steeling himself. Figures. But then, to his and everyone's surprise, Mars approaches. Nosamu blinks. "You?" The class murmurs in shock. Even Mars's teammates question him, but he brushes them off with a sharp look. Nosamu hesitates, but seeing no other choice, he accepts. The signal rings. The match begins. Two students rush Mars from both sides. He reacts instantly, steel flashing, blocking both attacks with flawless precision. Nosamu leaps forward to assist, but a slicing wind spell tears through the air, forcing him to retreat. The enemy mage smirks. Nosamu grits his teeth, barely dodging another strike. He parries an oncoming blow, then braces to counter. But a sudden fireball explodes beside him, thrown recklessly by his own teammates. "Just be a decoy already!" one of them shouts. He bites back his anger, blocking another strike just in time. His opponents press in, blades gleaming. He's forced to fight on two fronts, dodging enemy attacks while avoiding his allies' careless fire. Still, he doesn't break. He pivots, executes a wide swing to create space, then charges straight towards his own teammates. Their eyes widen in shock as he blocks an incoming arrow mid-air, the steel ringing like thunder. In the next heartbeat, he knocks both of them out cold. But that moment of victory leaves him open. A sharp gust tears through the air. Nosamu barely manages a flash step back before a wind blade obliterates the ground where he stood. Mars stands there, calm and composed, his opponents already defeated. Nosamu exhales slowly. Had he not moved in time, he'd be a smear on the dirt. It leaves a bitter taste in his mouth, but still, Mars's attitude towards him seems different now. When the battle ends, they're declared the winners. The teacher, Henri, scolds their careless teammates for their recklessness. As Mars watches Nosamu walk away, he can't help but think, something about that boy has changed. He adapts fast, moves like he's fought real battles before. Mars recalls seeing him heading to the forest alone. Maybe that's the secret. And so, he decides to find out for himself. That evening, Nosamu senses something. A presence trailing him since he left the dorms. He stops walking. If they follow him to his master's cabin, it could cause trouble. He veers off instead, towards an open clearing. The stalker realizes he's been found out. A figure steps out from the shadows. Mars. Nosamu narrows his eyes. What do you want? Mars grips his sword, just checking something. Before Nosamu can respond, he lunges. Steel crashes against steel. Sparks fly. Mars swings down hard, but Nosamu parries cleanly. Mars presses on, each blow heavier, faster. Nosamu traps his sword with his foot, pinning it down, then readies a counter-strike. But Mars lets go, his fist glowing with wind magic. The blast slams Nosamu backwards. Dust erupts as Mars retrieves his weapon, resetting the fight. They circle each other, tension thick in the air. Mars exhales. You're strong. Your technique's refined, even with your suppression ability holding you back. He lowers his blade. How did you get that strong? Nosamu hesitates, then finally answers. From my masker. She trained me since my first year. Mars pauses. Can I meet her? Nosamu's expression dims. She passed away not long ago. Silence follows. Mars looks down. I see. He asks about the training, and Nosamu describes it. Grueling, unbelievable, near impossible. Mars actually laughs under his breath. You survived that? No wonder you're still standing. But Nosamu's tone sharpens. So that's it? You attacked me just for that? Mars freezes. The question cuts deeper than he expected. He tries to respond, but before he can, Big bro! A young girl's voice interrupts. A petite girl rushes forward. His sister, Enna. She grabs Mars by the collar. What were you thinking, attacking him again? Mars stumbles for words. Nosamu just stands there, watching the chaotic sibling quarrel unfold like a private drama. Enna scolds her brother relentlessly, while Mars protests weakly. Finally, she turns to Nosamu and bows. I'm so sorry for him. Please let me make it up to you. Come have dinner with us. Before he can refuse, she insists, dragging him along to their family's inn.
Warm light spills from the doorway. The smell of grilled meat fills the air. Ina calls to the owner, arranging a meal. Then she grabs Mars by the ear again, muttering something about a proper scolding. Moments later, Nosamu served a perfectly cooked steak, juices glistening under the lantern glow. It's incredible! After the meal, the owner, Mars and Ina's foster mother, leans over the counter with a teasing smile. So, what do you think of those two? Nosamu answers honestly. Ina seems head-lated. As for Mars, I didn't think much of him at first. But maybe he's not so bad after all. The woman chuckles. He's been acting strange lately, ever since he started talking about wanting to be friends with you. Guess he doesn't know how to say sorry properly. Nosamu looks up surprised. She adds softly, he never brought his gang here either. That says something, doesn't it? In the kitchen, Mars helps the chef clean up. His foster father eyes him knowingly. Let me guess, you lost to that boy, huh? Mars clicks his tongue. It's not like that. I just wanted to see how he got stronger. The old man smiles. You're frustrated, huh? The same as ever. You sulk whenever things don't go your way. Mars stays quiet, listening. His father's voice softens. You've been through a lot. Losing your parents, it left scars. But bringing someone your age here tonight, that's progress, son. Go apologize properly. Mars nods, eyes lowering. Yeah, I will. Dinner ends. Ina waves cheerfully. Come visit again. Their mother insists. Mars, walk him home. So they do. The night is calm, bathed in silver moonlight. They walk side by side in silence, the city lights flickering softly around them. Finally, Mars speaks. Sorry for everything. Nosamu glances at him, quietly observing. For someone like Mars, saying those words must have been hard. He'd always kept his family life hidden, kept people at a distance. Seeing this side of him feels almost surreal. He exhales,
a faint smile forming. Let's just call it even. Mars looks relieved. Nosamu chuckles. Besides, after your sister scolded you like that, I can't keep holding a grudge. Mars winces. Don't remind me. Nosamu smirks. Too late. I'll probably laugh about it every time I remember. Mars groans as Nosamu laughs softly under the moonlight. And in that quiet, easy laughter, under the silver glow of the night, a new bond forms. A rivalry once born of tension now turns to friendship. As the two walk into the distance, the moon watching over them, one thing becomes clear. This is only the beginning.
The next day dawns softly over the academy, sunlight streaming through the tall windows as laughter and chatter fill the halls. And in the midst of it all, Andri beams with unrestrained joy. Her two troublesome students, Nosamu and Mars, had finally become friends. She dreamed of this moment for so long. And now, watching them talk and laugh together like ordinary classmates, she could hardly contain her excitement. Even the classroom itself felt lighter, freer. The boys who once mocked Nosamu now only glared from afar. Mars's usual entourage of rough followers? Gone. The shift was undeniable. Their time together naturally grew, and with it came an awkward yet heartwarming sense of camaraderie that Andri found almost too entertaining. As Nosamu would later describe it, she seemed weirdly excited about it all. But her reason was simple. From afar, she'd seen how much Mars's attitude had changed. He'd learned, reflected, and made peace. And to her, that was proof enough. Mars was not a bad kid. Nosamu, ever bashful, looked away, a faint blush coloring his cheeks. Then, without warning, the infirmary door slid open. Iris stepped in, her silver hair glinting faintly in the light as she helped a student who had clearly been injured. But the moment her eyes landed on Nosamu, her expression froze. Their gazes met. "Hello," she greeted flatly. The tone sent a jolt through the room. Everyone turned to look at Nosamu, curiosity flickering. What on earth had he done to make her so cold? He remembered immediately, that day, the one time he'd walked away without a word. Maybe that had been disrespectful. Iris, on the other hand, was relieved to finally see him again, though her nervousness made her seem distant. She worried her awkwardness might have startled him. Before either could speak further, Tama nudged her. "We still have someone to treat." The doctor gestured toward a bed. "Sit her down. Nosamu, fetch the supplies." He nodded, quickly obeying. The girl had apparently suffered a spell backfire, her magic exploding in her face. Luckily, the injuries weren't severe. With a dose of medicine and Andri's gentle healing spell, the burns faded. While the treatment went on, Tama found herself stealing glances at Nosamu, but whenever their eyes met, she flinched and hid behind Iris. When her gaze shifted towards Mars, however, the reaction was even stronger. Fear. Mars frowned. "What's with that look?" He thought to himself, annoyed. "Why is she scared? She's way stronger than me." It grated on him. When the healing was done, Iris gave Nosamu a small nod. "Thank you for the help." He replied humbly, "I just happened to be here." But she wasn't done. "Actually, could we talk? Alone? If possible?" The doctor, glancing up from his desk, pointed towards the storage room. "You can use that." Inside the quiet space, the air felt heavier. Iris lowered her gaze. "I wanted to apologize." Nosamu blinked. "So do I, for walking away without saying anything." Tama stepped forward, nervously twisting her hands. "Me too, for how I treated you, even though you saved me." Iris nodded in support. "She's just not good with men. She got defensive because of rumors." Nosamu smiled faintly and accepted their apology. But in deep, a flicker of unease still stirred. Every time he remembered that incident, the same feeling returned. A tightening in his chest, a desperate urge to run. Iris noticed the shift in his expression, her lips parting slightly to ask. But before she could, he brushed it off. "Let's head back." The moment passed. Back in the infirmary, Iris requested that they introduce themselves properly to the others. Greetings were exchanged with polite smiles. Her attention then drifted to Mars. "You have quite the rough exterior," she remarked dryly. Mars's brow twitched. Tama instinctively flinched again, hiding behind Iris, while Nosamu stepped in, calming him down. Mars turned away with a huff, standing by the window to collect himself. Iris continued, turning to Nosamu. "By the way, we're holding Somia's birthday party soon." Nosamu nodded. "Right. She mentioned that. She invited our classmates too," Iris added, smiling softly. "But she really wants you to come as well." Nosamu hesitated. "Me? I'm not sure I should. I mean, with all the nobles and guests, it's just a small celebration. Family and close friends only. And you're one of them." Her sincerity left no room for argument. He sighed and smiled faintly. "All right." Her expression brightened instantly. "Somia will be thrilled when she hears that." Then she turned towards Mars. "You should come too." Mars blinked. "What?
The room fell silent. Even Nosamu looked surprised. Mars frowned. Why would I go? I'm not her friend or her sister's. Iris tilted her head slightly. But you're Nosamu's friend, aren't you? That makes it perfectly natural. He scoffed. I'm not fit for a high-class noble party. You've heard the rumors about me, haven't you? I have. And I've only met you briefly, but I can tell. You attract trouble because of your personality, but I also think there's more to you than what people see. Oh yeah? I think you're like him, kind, in your own way. Mars groaned. You talk too much. I have to, otherwise I'd never survive a noble society. Her tone softened, but if you don't want to come, that's fine. Still, if you do, I promise you'll be treated well, and you can look forward to the feast. She ended with a polite bow before leaving to his tama. When the door closed behind them, Nosamu looked at Mars. You really not going? Mars scoffed. Of course not. Nosamu smirked. Didn't think so. The conversation drifted, and Nosamu asked, by the way, why were you so harsh towards Tama? She's strong, so why act weak? The doctor nearby spoke up quietly. It's not that simple. For people with great power, sometimes that power is what scares them most. Something in her past might have caused that fear. The boys fell silent, reflecting. Nosamu glanced down at his hands, uncertain of what his own power might bring. After school, Nosamu walked through the quiet streets, thinking hard. Somiya's birthday was coming up soon. What should he gift her? His mind wandered to the bracelet her sister once gave her, the way her eyes had sparkled when she received it. A bracelet then. He decided to make one himself. After hours of work and adjustment, he crafted a delicate bracelet adorned with a small bell that chimed softly with every movement. Still, he wasn't satisfied. He decided to keep improving it, little by little. Days later, the grand mansion loomed before them. Mars stared up at it, half in awe, half in disbelief. Why is my sister here again? Nosamu blinked. Wait, what? Apparently, after hearing how rude Mars had been to Tama, Ina had lost her temper and quite literally powered up in the process, strengthening her body with chi. Now, she'd come to apologize in person since Mars couldn't bring himself to. Nosamu could barely process it. Mars hiding behind his sister? The two siblings immediately broke into their usual quarrel. Nosamu tried to mediate, but their bickering only grew louder until a maid appeared at the door. Curiosity turning to suspicion, he quickly explained, "We're here for the party." The maid eyed the noisy pair behind him, unimpressed. "I see." She began to close the door until Iris's calm voice interrupted. "They're with me." The maid stopped and bowed slightly. Nosamu exhaled in relief, turning to find the entire crowd now watching them thanks to the siblings' commotion. Mars and Ina froze, realizing the scene they'd caused, then rushed to Nosamu with embarrassed faces. "Why didn't you tell sooner?" They scolded him simultaneously. Introductions followed, and Ina was soon acquainted with the girls. When she realized Tama was the one her brother had offended, she bowed immediately. "I am so sorry for my brother's behavior. Apologize," she ordered. Mars grimaced. Another fight broke out instantly. Nosamu sighed, already predicting this outcome. Iris couldn't help it. She burst into laughter. Her laughter was light and genuine, surprising even Tama, who had never seen her friend smile so freely before. After things settled, Iris turned to Ina. "Why don't you join the birthday party too?" Ina waved her hands frantically. "Oh, I couldn't. I've never been to a place like this, and I don't even have a gift. I only came to apologize." Iris reassured her, "It's just a casual celebration. No need for fancy clothes. What matters is the thought."
Ina hesitated, then nodded. All right. Their weapons were collected by the maids, and soon they stepped into the mansion's grand hall. The chandeliers glittered like constellations. Laughter echoed through the air. Iris greeted them warmly, alongside the birthday girl, Somiya, radiant and cheerful. "Welcome. I'm so glad you could all come." She spotted Nosamu in the crowd and approached him first, smiling. "Thank you for being here." Her eyes shifted toward his companions. "And you are?" Mars shrugged casually. "Just call me Mars. Then you can call me Somiya," she replied, amused. Ina smacked her brother's arm. "Behave." He rolled his eyes, muttering something under his breath, but Somiya only laughed it off. As the siblings' bickering resumed, Iris leaned toward Nosamu. "Are you enjoying yourself?" He smiled softly. "Yeah, it's nice." She noticed his gaze linger on her for a moment. "Is something wrong?" He flinched, embarrassed. "No, not at all." Her lips curved faintly. Then her eyes drifted to the small box he held. "Is that your gift?" Somi had been looking forward to it. They watched the celebration together from a quiet corner. Laughter, music, and warmth filled the air. Iris broke the silence. "Thank you," she said softly. Nosamu blinked. "For what?" "For letting her smile like this. Our mother died giving birth to Somia. Every year, on this day, she'd feel hollow. But now, she's laughing again. Ever since she met you." Her eyes shimmered with quiet emotion. "She talks about you all the time. Even at home." Nosamu's heart tightened. He tried to respond, but words failed him. "And I don't believe those rumors about you," she added gently. "I trust my intuition, and it tells me you're kind." The sincerity in her voice made him blush. The two shared a small, tender silence amidst the soft hum of the party. But outside, at the grand gate, darkness stirred. An unfamiliar figure approached, a butler in elegant attire. The guards greeted him, unaware of the danger. In an instant, their bodies went limp, unconscious before they even hit the ground. The man entered quietly, footsteps echoing against marble. Inside, Nosamu stiffened. A chill ran down his spine. Something was wrong. He turned to Iris. "Is he a guest?" She frowned. "No." All eyes turned toward the intruder as he stepped into the light. Expression calm, almost too calm. "My name is Lugo, a butler serving a noble of a certain land. I've come to retrieve what was left behind, a treasure bequeathed to the French family, the Soul Flame Furnace." His gaze drifted towards Somia, a thin smile curling at the corner of his lips. "And it would seem that it has fused with your soul." The music died. The air turned heavy. And in that single chilling moment, the celebration turned into the calm before the storm.
The air turned heavy. So heavy it was hard to breathe. Without warning, the mysterious butler Lugo raised his hand. A wave of shimmering energy pulsed outward, rippling through the grand hall. Within seconds, a translucent barrier engulfed the entire room, its strange light washing over every guest, their eyes dulling one by one. Everyone except for the chosen few. Nosamu, Iris, Somia, Mars, and Tima were the only ones left awake inside the silent illusion. Lugo's voice echoed through the still air, calm yet terrifyingly absolute. "The treasure within the girl's soul must be retrieved." His words carried centuries of weight. 300 years ago, he explained, a contract had been made between two noble families, the French and the Wajart. In exchange for immense wealth and prosperity, the Wajart family had offered up something precious, something that would one day need to be returned. A cursed legacy sealed by time itself. The symbol of that oath was the bracelet around Somia's wrist. And now, the contract's term had come to an end. The bracelet would act as a summoning key, calling forth a familiar to collect the Wajart family's possession, the Soul Flame Furnace, from within Somia's soul, at the cost of her life. The bracelet flared with a sinister light. The air chilled. A dark shadow rose from the ground, a towering Death Reaper, cloaked in mist and decay, scythe gleaming with spectral light. Its presence alone sent shivers through the room. Before anyone could react, the creature lunged toward Somia. "I won't let you!" Iris cried. Leaping forward, darkness swirled around her hand, chains of black magic bursting forth, binding the Reaper in midair. The others quickly followed her lead. Tima raised her trembling hands, magic circles glowing above her. "Seal!" A sealing spell formed, crackling with blue energy. It wouldn't hold for long, but it was something. Lugo's eyes glimmered. Impressive. To restrain a Reaper, even briefly, not many could manage that. His praise, however, was not kind. It was condescending. In the next instant, he raised his hand again. A burst of crimson light. It struck Tima square in the chest, sending her reeling backward, gasping. Fear flashed across her eyes, but she didn't let the spell go. If her seal broke, Somya's soul would be taken. Her hands shook, but she stood firm, pouring every ounce of willpower into maintaining the barrier. As pain coursed through her, fragments of her past resurfaced, memories of failure, of fear. Since childhood, Tima's magic had been too powerful, too unstable. It isolated her, made her feel alien. Even at the academy, her talent, her overwhelming affinity for all 4 elements had driven others away. Everyone except for Iris, who had always smiled at her, and Somya, the bright little sister who treated her kindly. Those two had been her light in the dark. So she refused to back down now. "I won't let her die," she whispered, tears burning her eyes. Lugo's voice cut through her defiance. Such resolve, yet still meaningless. He raised his arm for another strike. The spell flew toward her, and it was shattered by a blinding impact. Mars had intercepted it, his fist enveloped in burning chi. Tima froze, wide-eyed. He said he hated people like me, yet he still. Mars gritted his teeth. "Focus on your spell. Leave him to me." He turned towards Lugo, stance low and ready. Iris called out sharply, tossing a small key toward Nosamu. "The weapons! Storage room! Go!" He caught it midair, nodded once, and sprinted out. The battle raged on behind him. Iris clashed with the butler, her chains lashing like serpents. Mars parried blasts of magic with brute force, sweat glistening on his brow. But their opponent was overwhelming. Even with their combined efforts, Lugo's calm precision carved through their defenses. Nosamu, racing down the hallway, clenched his teeth. That man's power, it's like master level. They can't win like this. A thought surfaced. Terrifying, yet familiar. Should I release it? He shook his head. No. If they see me use it, they'll call me a monster. Still, the screams behind him echoed through his mind. He ran faster. Back in the ballroom, Mars was nearing his limit. His breathing ragged. His chi flickered weakly. "Iris, I can't." Before he could finish, he was struck and thrown to the side, crashing into the marble floor. Tima cried out, but her concentration slipped for only a second, long enough. The Reaper broke free, its hollow eyes fixed on Somya. "No!" Iris shouted, stepping forward only to be blocked by Lugo's barrier. The Reaper swung his scythe downward. Somya froze in terror, her sister's scream tearing through the air. And then, a flash. A streak of silver cut across the hall. The Reaper halted, mid-swing. A blade had pierced through its chest, clean, precise, unstoppable. Nosamu stood behind it, sword drawn, eyes burning with resolve. The Reaper's form fractured, then shattered into dust. The bracelet cracked and splintered, breaking the curse. Somya fell to her knees, trembling, but alive. Lugo's expression darkened. "To destroy my familiar so easily. Interesting." Nosamu scanned the battlefield. Mars down, Tima barely conscious, Iris bloodied but standing. The situation was grim. And Lugo wasn't even close to finished. As long as the contract remained, he could summon the Reaper again and again. Nosamu tightened his grip. "Do you really have to do this?" The butler's eyes narrowed. "I obey my master's orders. The contract demands the soul flame furnace be retrieved. The girl's death is unavoidable." "Unfair," Nosamu muttered. "She never asked for this." "Fairness," Lugo replied coolly, "has nothing to do with contracts." Iris's fury exploded. "I won't let you take her!" Her voice thundered through the hall. Nosamu met her gaze. They both understood. This was it. Lugo smirked. "Then fight. If you wish to break the contract, defeat me." And with that, the final battle began. Nosamu lunged first. Blade gleaming, Lugo countered effortlessly, but Nosamu twisted mid-swing, shifting his momentum and going in for a real strike. The butler's eyes widened, barely parrying in time. "Not bad," he muttered. "For your age?" Fire flared between them. Lugo leapt back, raining down flames. Iris dove in from behind, her shadow blade slashing upward. He deflected her with one hand. Nosamu charged a phantom blade, his energy flaring. Lugo instantly sensed the danger and raised a wall of magic, but the impact still forced him a step back. Nosamu pressed forward, every strike heavier than the last. But Lugo was relentless.
his magic precise, his counters punishing. One final blast sent both Nosamu and Iris flying. The walls cracked, the floor trembled. They were near their limit. But still, Nosamu refused to give on. Their eyes met. One look was enough. They had a plan. It was desperate, reckless, but all they had left. Iris gathered her strength, summoning her most powerful spell, Abyss Javelin. Dark energy surged around her, tearing through the air. Lugo scoffed. Pointless. But Nosamu was already moving. He vanished from sight, reappearing right beside the butler, executing one of his master's techniques. Lugo barely had time to register the movement. He's fast! Iris struck in that instant, aiming for his blind spot. Yet it wasn't enough. Lugo's body dissolved into a swarm of bats. The attacks hit only air. Then, in an instant, he reappeared behind them, hands raised, futile. Both Iris and Nosamu were slammed to the ground by crushing magical force, bound by shimmering chains. The truth hit all of them at once. He wasn't just a sorcerer. He was a vampire, a creature of legend, immortal, powerful, bound by blood. And her blade, Mithril, was the only weapon that could truly kill him. If only she'd landed a strike. As they struggled against the bindings, the Reaper appeared again. Nosamu's heart sank. If only I'd acted sooner, none of this would have happened. Iris screamed, "Take me instead! Spare my sister!" But the Reaper didn't hesitate. Its scythe descended once more, and Nosamu's body moved on instinct. "I won't let it end like this!" A surge of energy erupted from within him, raw, wild, divine. The floor cracked beneath his feet as his aura transformed into something otherworldly. The dragon's power. Blinding flash engulfed the hall.
Vanished, reappearing before the Reaper in an instant. His sword sliced through the creature in a single fluid motion. The Reaper disintegrated, the curse collapsing completely. Somia's soul was freed. Lugo staggered back, eyes wide. That power! Nosamu didn't answer. His body pulsed with draconic energy, his gaze locked on the vampire. Lugo struck again, his spells flaring faster, but Nosamu dodged every one, moving too fast to see. In mere moments, he was upon him. Each strike shook the air, driving Lugo back. The vampire dissolved into bats again, regrouping across the hall. But Nosamu's next move obliterated them. His master's technique, now magnified by the dragon's strength, tore through the room like a storm. Lugo crashed to the ground, blood trailing from his mouth. Nosamu raised his sword, its edge glowing with one final phantom blade. Panic flickered in Lugo's eyes. He threw up layer after layer of magic walls, but the phantom blade cut through them all. And him. The blast faded. Silence returned. Somia collapsed, then slowly stirred, alive. Her sister rushed to embrace her, tears of relief spilling down her cheeks. Lugo coughed weakly. "You could finish me, but only a mithril blade can truly kill my kind." Nosamu lowered his weapon. The butler gave a faint smile. "Then I yield. The contract shall remain unfulfilled. You have my word." Only then did Nosamu's strength fail him. His vision blurred, his knees buckled. The dragon's power had exacted its toll. His last thought before collapsing was of Somia's smile. And then, darkness took him. He awoke to horror. A dream, or a vision. The Dragon King Tiamat, devouring someone familiar. He ran, screaming, desperate to stop it, then jolted awake, gasping for breath. Sweat drenched his skin, but it was over. Just a nightmare. Moments later, the door opened. Iris and Somia entered, smiles of relief on their faces. "You're awake," Iris said softly. "You've been out for half a day." They filled him in. How Lugo had healed himself with vampire regeneration, and, true to his word, left peacefully. The others had recovered and returned to the academy. The heavy tension dissolved instantly when Nosamu's stomach growled loudly. Both sisters blinked, then burst into laughter. "Rest," Iris chuckled. "We'll bring food." Later, over a quiet meal, Iris began to explain everything. 300 years ago, during the civil war for the Frisnia kingdom's throne, chaos consumed the land. Desperate, their family forged an alliance with a distant noble house, the Wajarts. In exchange for aid, they were granted the Soul Flame Furnace, an artifact of great power that enhanced life force by sacrificing other souls. That alliance and the contract it created lasted 3 centuries, ending now. No wonder Lugo appeared.
Nosamu murmured. Iris nodded. Our ancestors must have been desperate. Even the current head of their family can't separate Somia's soul from the furnace's power. She sighed softly. Our mother must have used it to save Somia when she was born. She was so small, so fragile. Nosamu hesitated. Is it really okay for me to hear all this? Of course, Iris smiled. You saved us. You deserve to know. Both sisters bowed deeply, cheeks flushed. Thank you for everything. Nosamu scratched his neck awkwardly, flustered. Mars crossed his arms. Enough sentimental stuff. Explain what that was. Nosamu blinked. What? That power, Mars said. You were already strong, but back there you were something else entirely. Nosamu paused, thinking carefully. It's my suppression ability. I can release all my power when needed, but I lose control. My chi goes wild. You saw what happened with the boulder. Mars frowned but nodded, accepting the explanation. No one suspected the truth. No one knew that the power of a dragon slayer slept within him. And for now, that secret would remain his alone. Before leaving, Nosamu remembered something. Oh right, Somia. He reached into his pocket and handed her a small box. It's late, but happy birthday. Inside was a delicate bracelet crafted by his own hands, modeled after her sister's. A small bell chimed softly as she slipped it on. Her face lit up with a radiant smile. Thank you, Nosamu. He smiled faintly in return. For all the pain, all the danger, he didn't regret unleashing his power, because in the end, it allowed him to protect the girl standing before him.